Hi everyone! I'm often told that I'm picking low-hanging fruit all the time, so let's do something about that. In this video and in this series, I want to go after a guy with an actual PhD in astrophysics. Jason Lisle. PhD, astrophysics, young Earth creationist. Yeah, I know, creationism, that's so 2010. I know, I'm beating a dead horse. Look, guys, in case you haven't noticed, creationists are in charge of education in the United States. They've pretty much won. The fact that we've pretty much run them off YouTube doesn't mean a damn thing. We need to keep at it. And that's why I'm doing this.
Well, it's good to be with you this evening, and I get to speak on my specialty topic of astronomy. That's what I got my doctorate in, and it's what I research at the Institute for Creation Research. We have a number of different researchers there, studying geology and biology and physics and so on.
While Lisle's PhD is legit, his scientific contributions are not particularly impressive. His work deals with solar dynamics, and as far as I can see, he has only published 5 papers since getting his PhD in 2004. None of those papers support creationism or even relate to it. The Institute for Creation Research openly makes the following declaration. The Institute for Creation Research is unique among scientific research organizations. Our research is conducted within a biblical worldview, since ICR is committed to the absolute authority of the inerrant Word of God. The real facts of science will always agree with biblical revelation, because the God who made the world of God inspired the Word of God. Translation: the Institute for Creationist Apologetics is not a scientific research organization. We conduct no scientific research, but pretend that a particular book of Bronze Age fairy tales is the inerrant word of one of the fictional characters in it and therefore true, because reasons. We will always lie about what the facts are when, not if, the actual facts don't support what we want our gullible audience to believe. In science, there is no absolute authority, and nothing is assumed to be inerrant. We don't start with a conclusion and look for ways to prove it. Instead, we formulate hypotheses that we attempt to disprove and draw tentative conclusions based on the results, whether we like those results or not. What ICR is doing clearly isn't science, and if you're not doing science, then it doesn't matter if you can show a document that says that you know how to do science. Well, that's not quite true now, is it? It actually does matter in one way. It means that Jason Lisle can't blame ignorance when he says something that's wrong about astrophysics. When he says something that is false, demonstrably false, and accepted as false by the larger community of astrophysicists, he knows that he's wrong. He's lying.
Let's start with the glory of God being revealed in the heavens. That's something that the Bible teaches us. In Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. And there are a number of ways in which the universe displays God's glory, and it really reveals his character. It's quite wonderful. I want to concentrate just on 2 because I can't hit all of them, obviously, but I'm going to show you that the size and the beauty of the universe are certainly consistent with the mind of God and not just sort of a chance explosion or rapid expansion or what have you.
Notice the choice of words there at the end. Lisle knows that the Big Bang wasn't a chance explosion, but he brushes that aside with a simple or what have you. He knows how we know the things we know, but he dismisses that with a simple, whatever, because that's what his audience wants to hear. We'll see a lot of this, and I think it's really sad, because there's probably a real talented, intelligent scientist underneath all that indoctrination, just screaming, please, please, boss, give me control of one arm so I can facepalm. Don't worry, good scientist Jason Lisle, I'll do it for you. But in addition to that, I'd like to ask, how is a big universe inconsistent with naturalism? Under naturalism, we'd expect to find ourselves in a universe so big that the probability of our existence, unlikely as it may be, considering the absence of magic, actually becomes quite significant simply because of the sheer number of places where it could happen. Because of this, a small universe would be inconsistent with naturalism, not a big one. What's it like for theism, though? Is a big universe incompatible with theism? Is a small universe incompatible with theism? Well, no. Everything is compatible with theism, because theism doesn't make any predictions. A small universe that's perfectly consistent with a God that is really efficient. I mean, you'd say, hey, look, the universe is so small that it was clearly designed by a very efficient designer. There's nothing unnecessary here. That can only be explained by intelligent design, right? But in a big universe, you're saying this proves that God is so awesome that he doesn't have to care about things like efficiency. He can create all this unnecessary crap because that's how powerful he is. That's how awesome he is. Everything is consistent with your hypothesis. That's not a feature, that's a bug.
What about the basics of astronomy? Things that you would learn in a freshman level astronomy class. Well, you know, the Bible touches on astronomy. People say the Bible's not an astronomy textbook. I know that. Because, astronomy textbooks, we have to change them every few years as we learn that some of the things we believed were wrong. And the Bible will never have to be updated because God got it right the first time, and when it touches on astronomy, it's right.
God didn't write the Bible. People did. People who were wrong about pretty much everything. As an astrophysicist, you can think of plenty of examples of this. You, sir, are lying.
And so let's take a look at some of these. The spherical nature of the earth.
Circle does not mean sphere. The Bible explicitly describes a flat earth mounted on a solid foundation in an endless ocean and covered by a dome, the firmament, to which the stars are attached and which keeps all the water above out. Yeah, that's why the sky is blue, apparently. You can argue about translation problems or say that circle refers to the shape of the Earth's silhouette all you want, but when you look at other passages, that just doesn't hold up. Now, personally, I'm perfectly fine with the excuse that this is all just poetic language. It's allegory, it's metaphor. It was phrased in a way that allowed the people of the time to understand. Whatever, that's fine. But once you say that, you never get to say that the Bible must be interpreted literally ever again. If you must take the first chapters of Genesis as more than just a fable with a moral about the dangers of falling to temptation, simply because it's in the Bible and the Bible is literally true, then you must also believe that the Bible is literally true when it says that you can see every kingdom on earth if you're just standing on a mountain high enough.
Earth is suspended in space. Job chapter 26, verse 7.
Problem. The Earth isn't suspended. It's orbiting the sun. That means it's actually falling toward the sun, but because of its tangential velocity, it keeps missing. That's what being in orbit means. I would have expected an astrophysicist to know this.
The expansion of the universe. The Bible describes God as stretching out the heavens like a curtain, spreading them out as a tent to dwell in.
So you're interpreting stretch to mean expand, even despite the clarification in the same sentence. Tell me, was Aaron secretly Mr. Fantastic? And is the earth also expanding? And what's this water under the earth? I thought it was suspended above nothing. Where is this water? What direction is down in this context? In what sense is the earth above the waters? Once again, this makes perfect sense when you understand what the authors of the Old Testament believed. It's just that what they believed was wrong.
This was rediscovered by secular scientists in the late 1920s, the Hubble and others, from observations of galaxies. It appears that all galaxies are moving away from all other galaxies, as if the entire universe is being stretched out or expanded.
Tell me, did secular astronomers also rediscover that stars can fall out of the sky so people can stomp on them? Or that the earth doesn't move? And did the secular herpetologists rediscover that snakes could talk? I guess we just haven't caught up with the Bible now, have we?
Countless numbers of stars. The Bible describes Abraham's descendants as the stars of heaven and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And it says, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So the Bible is using this as a figure of speech to indicate a humanly uncountable number.
This verse was clearly written by someone who had no idea how many stars there actually were. It's obviously a reference to the number of stars you can see with the naked eye, but even that is way more than the average Bronze Age goat herder could count. I'm not impressed. Next.
There was a time when the secular experts thought there were exactly, I forget the number, I think it was 1,022 stars, because that's how many Ptolemy had cataloged in his work.
And what secular experts would that be? Care to name one? Care to tell me what the hell you're talking about? Anyone with that kind of dogmatic thinking isn't doing science. These people who you're talking about, and I have no idea who they are, they're on your team, the side opposing science. You, sir, are lying.
There was a philosophy that everything worth knowing was known by the Greeks. And so if Ptolemy had only cataloged that many stars, there were only that many stars, despite the fact you can see more than that. So it really shows you how a philosophy can get in the way of observations if it's a false philosophy.
I don't think I need to comment on that. I'm just going to play it again to let the irony sink in properly.
So it really shows you how a philosophy can get in the way of observations if it's a false philosophy. Have we learned a lesson of history? Have we learned that in the past, whenever experts of the day have disagreed with the Bible has always turned out to be right? When God speaks on something, he's right. He's God.
But God doesn't speak at all. If he exists, which is a completely separate issue that I don't want to get into here, then he's silent. The Bible wasn't written by God. It was written by men during the Bronze and Iron Ages, and it reflects the ignorance of the people of that time. Science only really became a thing after some brilliant people like Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton, all Christians, all creationists, because this was before Darwin, everyone was a creationist actually, realized that the greatest authority when you're observing reality is the observation of reality. If you have a belief that is contradicted by an observation, then the belief, no matter what belief we're talking about, must be wrong. People like you opposed them every step of the way because they refused to acknowledge that fact. You're still opposing science right now. You are the one who needs to learn from history. But you've already decided that you're not going to learn anything that contradicts your belief that the Bible is more than just a ridiculous book of fairy tales, whether God exists or not.